Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Well, that happens more and more. I'm so busy, so much is going on around here that I've slid in to my transmission command pod here in the InfoWar about 10 seconds late. But we are live, and it is Friday. And 10 seconds from now, it'll be Friday again. As everyone knows, as you get older, life speeds up. But what happens is life speeds up not just because you're getting older, but because the world itself is speeding up. We are going to be live here for the next 3 hours. I am Alex Jones, your host. The website is Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. We have Webster Griffin Tarpley joining us from Tripoli. He's been on the ground at different government buildings and bombed out facilities, and I'm told we even have footage of Tarpley at a pro-Gaddafi event, so we'll get his coverage of that, along with the video. Also, Mike Gravel, former U.S. Senator and 9/11 truther, will be joining us. Wow, I don't think I've ever heard Lyndon LaRouche come out and say 9/11 is a total inside job and that the government was behind it, but he said that yesterday. That was pretty powerful. Also, Bob Chapman is going to be joining us. We're working on getting Dr. Paul Craig Roberts to pop in today as well, because he was one of the first to say that the Dominique Strauss-Kahn situation was as phony as a $3 bill. I don't like Dominique Strauss-Kahn. For the first few days, I halfway seized upon it. People are like, well, you said he's a scumbag. Well, yeah, he's a scumbag, and this is how globalists act. This is part of the course, and my point was maybe he did it, maybe he didn't. And Roberts was like, no, this is a setup because of what he's done politically. And, of course, Roberts was the former head of policy at the Treasury, so he's moved in those circles. And then it came out that and this was confirmed a few days after, it didn't get a lot of attention, but it was in the French, British, and a few U.S. papers confirmed. Sarkozy's Karl Rove, his chief political strategist, came out and had to admit that he'd sent a Twitter out before Khan had even been arrested. Before it was even known, before he was even detained in the 45 minutes while they were looking for him. And another one of Sarkozy's aides also Twittered with their enjoyment. And they later admitted, well, we had spies on Sarkozy. I mean, Sarkozy had spies on Khan. So, I mean, right there, danger Will Robinson. This is the guy who admittedly was going to run against Sarkozy, big globalist. They're all globalists. And these guys pick each other off. These guys, play dirty tricks on each other, not just the general public and the population of the world and our economic systems. And admitted that they had, quote, spies following Khan around. And, of course, Khan was set to run against Sarkozy coming up next year, and in all the polls was at least 10 points ahead of him. And so it was a clear setup. And the reason I raised that, the police and the prosecutors are now having to admit that the maid has been caught lying on a host of issues, and that he may be released at any time. I mean, they may drop the charges. So that's in the New York Times, New York Post. It's up on Infowars.com as well. We've got some reports going over some of the history and background of that. So just more examples of the dirty tricks. Because, listen, normally globalists can rape people. They can kill people. And the police won't go after them. I mean, the New York police are notoriously, mafia. It's like the former head of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, saying that the mafia didn't exist because they had photos of him dressed up like Queen Elizabeth, basically. So they only bust you if they want to, and if they have to, they'll frame you. We'll be right back. It's all coming up. All coming up.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
It is Friday, the first day of July, 2011. We prepare to celebrate the nation's birthday, remembering July 4th, 1776. I hear the mainstream corporate establishment media talking about how we're going to have a happy 4th of July and celebrate security. No, King George III offered security, which was really a nice name for tyranny. We celebrate independence and freedom and private property and independence against despots on July 4th. And if you read an FBI or Homeland Security training manual, they are basically like vampires afraid of big silver crosses when they talk about folks that are into the Bill of Rights, Constitution, and our republic. Webster Griffin Tarpley, of course, is joining us with another quick report from Tripoli. Big developments over there with Russian envoy says NATO preparing Libyan ground invasion. That's the intel Russia has. Also, Air Force Times reporting that AFRICOM, Air Force Navy, still flying Libyan missions. We also have some reports that I want to integrate together with the last few weeks that we've heard Fox News, Glenn Beck, and others talking about Agenda 21 and the global standardization of laws with carbon taxes and international zoning through federal zoning and these rural councils that are being set up to basically pressure people off their land, the Premises ID, the Animal ID, the Food Safety Act, all lobbied for by multinational Big Agra to openly shut down their competition. I thought I would get into the rest of the story coming up later in the broadcast, either when Bob Chapman's on with us or in the second half of the second hour, because Senator Mike Gravel's joining us on new 9/11 Truth developments. Former U.S. Senator and presidential candidate Mike Gravel is going to be popping in at the start of the next hour after Tarpley joins us. Then, of course, our weekly visit with Bob Chapman. That'll be a smorgasbord of important news, intelligence, and information. So all of that is coming up on the broadcast today. Now, continuing here, back to the Agenda 21 stuff. There's an article out of American Thinker that's very well documented, a purposeful flooding of America's heartland, and it gets into this year despite more than double the usual amount of mountain and high plains snowpack and even ever-present risk of storing and strong spring storms. The true believers in the Army Corps of Engineers have persisted in following the revised MWCW, recklessly endangering millions of residents. So they didn't early on allow the floodgates to be open on these highland lakes and mountain lakes. They let it build up, and then once the spring storms came, they released it all at once. Missouri Senator Roy Blunt agrees, calling the management plan flawed and poorly thought out. No, it's not poorly thought out. Senator Blunt characterized the current flooding as entirely preventable and told reporters that he intends to force changes to the plan. Greg Palivka, a wildlife biologist with the Corps of Engineers in Yankton, South Dakota, told the Seattle Times that this event will leave the river in a much more natural state than it has seen in decades. And they have links to all this. So this is about see, they openly, with the rewilding, want to get rid of dams. And they've said that. You've heard that. You've seen that. But instead what they're doing is they're now just not using the dams. Or they're letting the water build up and then releasing dangerous amounts of it and then talking about, well, this is natural. You shouldn't be living in a floodplain. And FEMA continues year after year to expand floodplains to even houses on top, hilltops 300 feet above lakes here in Austin. Just asinine type stuff that is going on. And it's all about land grabs, all about power grabs, all about Agenda 21, all about this rural council that ties into the 10 governor council. Continuing here on February 3rd of this year, a series of emails from Fort Perry, South Dakota, Director of Public Works Brad Lawrence sounded the alarm loud and clear in correspondence to the headquarters of the American Water Works Association in Washington, D.C. Lawrence warned the Corps of Engineers has failed thus far to evacuate enough water from the main stem reservoirs to meet normal runoff conditions. This year's runoff will be anything but normal. In the same email, he describes the consequences of the Corps' failure to act as a flood of biblical proportions. This is before any of the flooding began. His emails were forwarded from Washington, D.C. to state emergency response coordinators nationwide. The Corps headquarters in Omaha, Nebraska, which is responsible for the Missouri River system, claims that they heard no such warning from Lawrence or anyone else, considering the wild distribution of the correspondence, the wide distribution of it, and likely reactions from officials in endangered states. Their denials strain credulity or reality, the smell test. And it just goes on. So, see, I've already gotten into this now, but I'm going to get into it later in detail because it's so important and it shows this attitude. This is a set policy. You can pull up the reports going back to the 60s, but now these ideas have become mainline to not build fire breaks, to not allow on national, federal, and state lands and even private land that they're trying to restrict now, the cutting of timber. And then the forest debilitate, fall into basically briar patches with lots of fallen trees, huge amounts of fuel. If you've ever been in a forest that's been kept up for centuries and had human intervention, it's beautiful. It's expansive. The wildlife pours into it. You go into a lot of these forests that have had a lot of old growth that's died and things and had a lot of different type of insect infestations. It'll look like something out of a Wastelands, Badlands horror movie, and it's just massive amounts of quote devilish carbon, by the way, that gets ignited by the thunderstorms and lightning storms. And now I'm digressing, but they're not building a lot of new dams. They're trying to get rid of the old dams and have destroyed quite a few. Then when they do have dams, they're using them as a weapon. And letting the water go right to the crest, and then once the rain starts, they already have the snow drifts melting, then the rain comes, and then they release it at once to have the maximum effect. The Army Corps of Engineers are incredible engineers, an incredible history. They've built one of the best inland dam and water control systems the world's ever seen. And suddenly, in the last few decades, they're reversing all of that and using the water as a weapon. It's diabolical, but it's stated they don't want people living in many of the rural areas, and they're going to use water as a weapon. All right, now I'm really blowing a lot of time here. But I'm going to tie that into President Obama's executive order. We talked about this a few weeks ago, but I want to really tie it all together. 13575 creates rural councils, because we posted on YouTube yesterday, because I'd never seen this, of a film clip of Ronald Reagan as governor, talking about globalist world government plans to rob the Midwest of its farmland and force people out, which is the stated rewilding project. I mean, this is just amazing. So I was blown away seeing Ronald Reagan say this, so that's coming up later. Okay, obviously, in other news, I tend to just cover whatever is on the top of my head I think is most important, and sometimes it's well, it doesn't seem as important, but in the wide, long-term frame, it's really dangerous to realize how predatory the establishment is. Firefighters scramble to contain blaze near lab in Los Alamos National Laboratories in New Mexico. The fire is burning nearly unabated through the Santa Fe National Forest and Valles Caldera National Reserve. By late Thursday, it had charred 93,678 acres, and strong winds threatened to be the firefighters' greatest challenge. We have seen fire behavior we have never seen before, said Chief Doug Tucker told reporters. Now, the good news is in the last few hours, right as the firefighters weren't sure they could stop it as close as 50 feet away, they've been battling it because they weren't allowed to cut back fire breaks in the last few decades, right up to the facilities where 20,000 plus barrels of uranium and plutonium are stored. Now, there's already been nuclear testing all over that area, so it is putting a lot of isotopes into the atmosphere that had been bound up in the soil and the plants for 60-plus years of ongoing testing. But the good news is the winds changed directions away from the facility in the last few hours. And so keep your fingers crossed because we are all downwind. I'm right here in Texas. And we're already undoubtedly, if you look at the winds, it's coming right into Austin, right into where I live. And I saw a report in the major news, just last 2 weeks ago, that the average person in tests that scientists did in Seattle are getting 5 hot particles a day. That means particles, not just background radiation, but actually highly radioactive particles, different isotopes, but uranium, plutonium, strontium, cesium, cesium, blowing over here. And that people on the East Coast are getting as many as 5 hot particles a day in your mouth, in your nose, into your lungs. And, I mean, it is just, but Chernobyl, admittedly, even the UN and EU admits they estimate 1 million people have died from complications from Chernobyl in 1986. And this is much bigger than that. So I love my children, and I can't just sit here and, let them die at 25 of lung cancer. If Los Alamos starts burning, I'm going to have to fly my children probably to Canada. I mean, if it gets into those 20,000 barrels, we're going to have to evacuate. And the government's not going to tell you to evacuate, folks, just like with the dust on 9/11. But I will evacuate my family, okay, if it gets to those barrels.
The preacher man says it's the end of time, and the Mississippi River, she's a going dry. Interest is up and the stock market's down, and you're only getting mugged if you go downtown. I live back in the woods.
You know what I'm going to do?
A woman and the kids and the dogs and me.
I'm going to just go ahead and get into this whole Agenda 21 right now, but I've got to do whole 3-hour broadcast on this in the near future because we've been covering it for 16 years I've been on air. They set up Agenda 21 in 92 at the big Earth Conference headed up by Maurice Strong. You can pull up the video online. You can pull up the quotes where he said, a post-industrial America, it is our job to destroy the West and destroy industrial society, reduce the world population by at least 80%. Jesse Ventura's his global warming fraud show in the first season was really good and exposed all that. But I'm just glad this information is becoming mainline. But you need to understand, that's where the standardized zoning is. Whether you're in England or Australia or Germany or the U.S., it's the same stuff. Formula One's coming into Austin. They're going to pay for it with taxpayer money. But then the companies agreed, which then sets the precedent, to pay all these carbon offsets to private companies. I mean, it's just a total scam. And Al Gore's the head of one company. The Rothschilds are the head of the biggest. But President Obama's Executive Order 13575, again, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and they're like, oh, rural councils. And it's got the Department of Defense on it, Homeland Security. And they already had this covertly set up. And they send out Homeland Security at events. I've seen it in the Associated Press. And they get the farmers there to talk to them about Al-Qaeda. And once they get there, it's like, is someone growing marijuana? Are there illegal guns in the area? Help us watch your neighbors. I mean, it's so creepy. And they know the Midwest, the bitter clingers, as Obama called them, clinging to their guns and their Bibles, are the biggest enemy of the establishment. And plus, the farmers in the East and the Amish and the folks in the West, they're targeting them everywhere. But the Midwest is really where it's happening. And if you just joined us, I read earlier where the Army Corps of Engineers knowingly, I mean, there's science to this, and working and giving orders to the big reservoir dam operators in their plan with record rain in many of these areas that they list that you're now seeing flooded, with the reservoirs already full, with the record snowmelt about to come in, and they just waited until it was cresting the dams and released it. And it's being called a false flag, and I totally agree. And now the Army Corps is in there trying to demand that people be forced to sell in expanding floodplains. And, of course, FEMA makes you buy flood insurance from them now. They control the consortium. That started after Katrina. I know a lot of folks live on the lake, but even in hilltop houses, 200, 300 feet above the lake. And, you know, these areas have never been underwater in modern times. And then they're like, well, you got to pay extra stuff now. It's just like Obama saying you've got to buy insurance. It's just a scam. They just order you as a form of taxation to the private corporate interest. Let's go to this Fox News clip. And again, if Fox was more like this all the time, I'd support them. It shows a real war inside the elite covering what the rural affairs agenda and this new council really does. Here it is.
You'll find that they've also asked for the right to imprison farmers who wouldn't keep books as prescribed by the federal government. The Secretary of Agriculture asked for the right to seize farms through condemnation and resell them to other individuals. And contained in that same program was a provision that would have allowed the federal government to remove 2 million farmers from the soil.
If you live in the heartland of America, you have to listen up. While the nation was distracted with the Anthony Weiner drama, President Obama signed an executive order that will seize greater power over food, fiber, and energy in our vast countryside areas. The president created the White House Rural Council to, quote, make sure we're working across government to strengthen rural communities and promote economic growth. Sounds great, but get this. The council involves a long list of the most powerful people in America. Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner, the Defense Secretary's on it, Attorney General Eric Holder, even the head of Homeland Security, Janet Napolitano. Why would Homeland Security be involved in exerting power and influence over the heartland? Why would the Defense Department be involved in promoting economic growth? The plan calls for the federal government to control almost every aspect of rural America. It'll also, quote, identify and facilitate economic opportunities associated with energy development, outdoor recreation, and other conservation-related activities. Really? When did hunting and fishing become associated with conservation-related activities? And by the way, what does that mean?
He goes on and calls it a new world order. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Ronald Reagan, by the way, at the first. They had this plan in '64. And it's like something out of Stalinist Russia. You can't make this stuff up. We were able to get a hold of Webster Griffin Tarpley earlier this morning. The phones are down now, but if Jaron keeps trying, sometimes we're able to get through to the peace area of Libya, where the Nobel Prize winner Obama, under UN orders, is killing people en masse and preparing a giant ground invasion as part of the peace. They've also started in Somalia and, of course, in Yemen. And they're talking about starting it in Sudan. More Predator drones dropping bombs on people. And the Pentagon says that if 100 innocent people are killed to get, quote, one bad guy, that is peace. And so Obama, the man of peace, aren't all of you Air America and Huffington Post people proud of yourselves? Well, of course you are. You loved it when Bill Clinton launched that UN war against the Serbs. And the Serbs were pretty vicious and engaged in a lot of atrocities. And I'm not Serb. I don't have a drop of Serb blood in me. But I'm sorry to have to tell you that the UN admits in its own reports that they knew that the Croats and Muslims killed roughly in that long conflict double what the Serbs did. It's called ethnic warfare. And so I do not support the Muslims or the Croats either. And I actually, one time in New York, about 6 years ago, the cab driver said, I am Albanian. After we were driving about 5 minutes, you are Alex Jones. Bill Clinton is God to us. And I said, so he goes, yes, I know you are with the Serbs. And I was just like, well, but it's admitted that you guys killed double and attacked the Serbs first. You know, after Tito died, the whole place broke up. It was under communist socialist control, and then it was destabilized, and you know the whole war, and you guys were attacking the Serbs, and he's like, they need to die, they need to, and he goes, don't argue with me, or I will throw you out of cab. And I was like, well, you can go ahead and drop me off. Then he started smiling, acting nice, going, no, Americans do not know. Americans do not know. And he had blonde hair and blue eyes, too. But he was a Muslim, and he wanted to suck me into his Christian-Muslim fight. I don't want anybody killing each other. I'm tired of it. But I'm sorry. Don't tell me that Belgrade has to be bombed with DU weapons everywhere, and their TV stations, their water treatment, their factories that made peaceful aircraft and cars to be bombed because they wanted to be a sovereign country. And yes, they were in tribal warfare. And you can look at it from any angle and say who's bad. You can look at it from the Palestinian perspective and say Israel's bad. You can look at it from the Israeli perspective and say the Palestinians are bad. I don't have a dog in the hunt. I don't have a dog in the fight. I want my private property. I want my Second Amendment. I don't want my government flying around bombing all these countries constantly as we go bankrupt. It's real simple. So I'm not for the Muslims. I'm not for the Serbs. I'm not for Israel. I'm not for the Russians. I am not for any of these sides, any of these groups. I am for liberty. I am for freedom. I am for individuals of all those groups, black, white, old, young, German, Russian, Mexican, Venezuelan. I don't care. If you want freedom, then we are brothers and sisters in liberty. But if you don't like freedom, if you like collectivism and corporate globalism, I don't like you. I don't like the fruits of what you promote. You don't know what you're doing. Most of you are idiots who support globalism. All right, now I'm ranting. You tell me we have Tarpley? Is that what I'm... Thank you. I can see you guys even less when the lights are off. I was trying to remember why I like the lights on in there, and it's because I get these hand signals usually, and I can't tell what's going on. But, hey, I don't blame you guys not wanting to center fluorescent lights. Those things are bad for you. I think we're going to put some track lighting in there's the answer. Okay, coming up, obviously, Dominique Strauss-Kahn. The case is falling apart, and it is a setup. Is that saying he's a good guy? No. He's a horrible globalist. But this is Sarkozy, who knows that Kahn's going to beat him in the election. The French are now saying he's surging even more in the polls that this came out, and he's going to probably be released soon and go back and become the next president of France. So we'll be talking about that. But I take you now to Tripoli, and we're showing pro-Gaddafi video right now from Libyan television that's up for a time, and it gets bombed routinely, but they get it back up. The phones go out routinely. And in this footage, you can, at one point, see Webster Griffin Tarpley. In fact, maybe we'll pause it when it gets to the part where you can see Webster there. There's maybe Yemenis TV broadcasting. Oh, this is live. This is live footage. Right now, Jaron saying he saw Tarpley earlier on the footage. Webster Griffin Tarpley, you are now joining us. Very brave to be there. Now nearing your second week in Libya, or about to end the first week. Webster, welcome.
Thank you very much, Alex.
These are gigantic crowds. It looks like, as a cursory view, 200,000 or more. How many people is that?
I think that's probably about right. It's in the hundreds of thousands. And the thing is, I'm here above Green Square. This is a vantage point at the edge of the old city of Tripoli, which goes back to the Roman Empire. So I'm up here with the press corps. We came on the press bus today, and there are easily tens of thousands right in this packed area right below us, where they're really having quite a time. They're chanting and dancing, and they're shooting off Kalashnikovs, Alex. Every now and then you hear a ripple of machine gun fire.
They're such slaves that they have 200,000 or looks like more people firing automatic weapons in the air. Can you imagine land of the free, home of the brave, what the government would do if 200,000 people tried to gather with Kalashnikovs in the capital? What would happen?
I don't know, but here it's also women, right? The demand for Kalashnikovs among women here is monumental. But let me just give you an idea of the setting. We're about 2 hours from the Mediterranean sunset. And the reason they have these demonstrations late in the day is what I'm feeling right now. The sun is still very strong, right? We're basically on the northern edge of the Sahara Desert. The Mediterranean is about half a mile away. So we're right here by this basin in the port of Tripoli. Right across from me is a building that goes back ultimately to about the 5th century A.D. It's Marcus Decimus Aurelius, one of the later Roman emperors, built this palace, and he built the walls to the old city. And then beyond that, you can see the minarets of the interior of the old city. Those came later, of course. Those came in the 700s and the 800s. And the place is packed, and it's green. It's a sea of green. They have got these green stripes, right, about 6 feet wide. And every tribe is competing with every other tribe to see who can have the longest one. And some of them say mine is 4 kilometers long, and the other one says that's nothing. We've got 10 kilometers over here. So that's going on. We got above me, there are these floodlights, right, like at a ballpark. And there are people climbing up on these things with great danger to life and limb.
Can you imagine if U.S. troops go into that city?
I think that would be rivers of blood. And once again, these were people who put up with a million dead under the Italian colonialism. They're the first people in the world to have poison gas used on them. That didn't stop them, and ultimately the Italians built what amounts to it's something like a primitive version of the Berlin Wall or the inner German border in the Cold War, except this was all along the border between Libya and Egypt to keep the British from smuggling in support for the rebels. So there's chanting. Now, the chant, it's actually a very good-humored crowd. You see some pro-Syrian flags. There's a solidarity with Syria operation. There are some other flags down there. And the big guy that they hate is Sarkozy. Man, down, down, Sarkozy, down, down, Sarkozy. That's the order of the day. And there was already sort of spontaneous jubilation yesterday when Sarkozy got himself yanked by this guy when he was working a rope line. Some guy grabbed him by the jacket and just about threw him down. And apparently that guy, whoever he is, says that had to do with Libya. Well, we know what that stuff is worth. But still, here it's welcome, because out of all of these figures, Sarkozy is undoubtedly the most hated. So he is the number one villain.
Do we know why Sarkozy, who admittedly was financed with some Libyan money and making deals with Muammar Gaddafi, why Sarkozy is trying to double-cross Gaddafi?
Well, because you got to remember who Sarkozy is, right? I think there's some... there may be a sign down there that says something about Sarkozy's ancestry. He is the bastard son of the CIA, in the sense that Sarkozy's mother, I guess his biological mother, remarried, and the guy who became the stepfather to Sarkozy is Wisner. I think Frank Wisner. I don't know what number, or Junior. But this is a celebrated family of the State Department and above all the CIA. So
sure, Sarkozy's not even from France, for folks that don't know that.
I think more Hungarian to begin with.
Yes.
But the big influence, the household that he grew up in was the CIA household. So now we've got a puppet president of France, and it's just amazing. The woman who was put in as the new head of the IMF, right, this Lagarde. I've heard some stories about Lagarde now from some French people who are here, Thierry Meyssan, among others. And the idea is Lagarde, as a French minister, Treasury secretary, she put out an order that it was forbidden to speak French in that ministry. She said everything has to be done in English, everything has to be written in English. Don't come to me and talk to me in French. I want to hear it in English.
She's an Anglophile.
I guess so. That's putting it mildly. She's off the deep end on that stuff. Now there's a crescendo of oratory and cheering in the background that you may hear, and I see another guy up on this.
No, you're reporting. We've got the video up for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers
okay, wonderful.
live. But let me stop you. because I want to cover 2 points with you here, because I know you're not getting a lot of news while you're over there under the bombardment. Russian envoy, NATO preparing Libyan ground invasion, Infowars.com. This is out of RIA, the main TV in Russia. Dmitry Rogozin told RIA Novostat on Friday that NATO is probably preparing a ground invasion to overthrow the Gaddafi regime in Libya. He is Russia's NATO envoy. I think that now we are witnessing the preparation stage for a ground invasion, which NATO and at least some of its members are going to begin. And then that we go into The Guardian. In our past reports, we broke this, of course, 3 weeks ago from our intel sources. First Cav under 3 Corps out of Fort Hood and others. Just that contingent, at least 15,000 with another 15,000 support troops, 30,000 there. The Marine Corps commander out of one base 2 months ago said, yes, we're leaving to go to Libya.
I'm on the radio.
So Tarpley, what do you make of the fact that Russia is now saying that they've got intel, the green light is rolling forward? I mean, this is madness.
I think it's widely known. I was just on Russia Today via Moscow a couple of hours ago, and that should be up at Tarpley.net before too long, I hope. And the main idea was that Lavrov, also the foreign minister, had said something similar. So we got all the main Russian representatives in the world really putting out that line. So they obviously see something coming, and then, that puts the ball in our court. I saw today some analyses of that vote in the House of Representatives from last week, which indicate that there are already enough votes in the House to cut off the money and stop the war, at least from the House of Representatives' point of view. Sto facendo il commentario per la radio per la Malora. That I've got sorry, I just got interrupted here. I think I may be the only person doing a live feed.
No, I understand, Lord Tarpley. Please continue.
So, the thing is, it's coming, right? So the House of Representatives, you've already got enough votes. All you need is a clean bill that says no more funding, no more killing, no more war, and nothing is approved, and not even retrospectively. Because when you look at that, the bill put in by Congressman Rooney last week, which was presented as the one cutting off the funds, which lost by about 30 votes, that could have had 70 more anti-war Democrats voting for it, but it was some people said it was approving Obama through the back door, because it said no killing, but everything else is fine. All the logistics and everything else, up to killing, but not including killing is fine. And what Obama has done is approved. And a lot of people just don't want to vote for that. So, again... Well, we know
Webster, we know the propaganda because they always beta test it up front. 3 months ago, or 3 months and a week ago, when they did the UN resolution that the servile President Obama followed and told Congress, go fly a kite, go jump in the lake, go jump off a cliff, they said we may need ground support troops and that they're going to, quote, create a humanitarian corridor into Tripoli. And so they're going to roll up in tanks and say, if you don't let us occupy, if you shoot at us, then you're engaged in terrorism. So the new psychology is we're invading, bombing you from the air. The U.S. tanks are going to roll in, and then if you don't let them roll in and take over, you're a terrorist. So this is the new Orwellian type idea we have.
Lots of luck with that one. There were enough Kalashnikovs that I can see right down here in the square to put up a fairly significant resistance. And as I look out towards the Mediterranean, out over the sort of the key or the quay of the old port, you have these columns that were put up, the twin victory columns, and these refer to the USS Philadelphia, which came here during that Barbary pirate stuff, right? The shores of Tripoli, this is it. And that boat fared very poorly there. I've been taken to see now the graves of the poor guys who got killed in that one. So the whole history about this place is don't do it. They are very well armed, and so this is a very good nation.
Well, Webster, I'm looking at this crowd. It looks like a lot more in a wide shot than 200,000. I would estimate that crowd at above 500,000 conservatively.
May well from where I am, I can't really see out here beyond this the Roman fort, and then these two pillars. And if I look out over the ocean, I've got some...
well, Webster, here's the other issue. Saddam was a dictator, a U.S. installed dictator on record in 79, but because I don't support Saddam, I'm an American. I'm supposed to support him when they say support him and then hate him when they say hate him. But Saddam would only have little tribal folks in Tikrit and other areas that he trusted, a few thousand with guns, to show he had the support of the people. A lot of Iraqis didn't like him, obviously, and I don't blame them. But this looks like 500,000 or more people out there waving guns around. I mean, my gosh, the CIA watching this right now, and you know they're watching it, that looks like more than 500,000. They've got to know that looks like total resistance right there. And holy mackerel, I mean, that is a tribal group stirred up like a bunch of bees. Well, let's talk about what this ground invasion is going to look like on the other side. Former U.S. Senator Mike Gravel, 9/11 truther, questioning the official fable, will be joining us 8 after next hour. We're going to do 2 more segments. This segment, the next one, with Webster Griffin Tarpley joining us from Tripoli. Before I go back to Webster, because I also want to get his take on the whole Dominique Strauss-Kahn situation. Big developments there. We're going to run this special. Always busy trying to grab it here, show it to you. We're going to run this special through the weekend, so everybody has a chance to take advantage of it and to support the broadcast. You get my best-selling films, The Obama Deception, Terror Storm, Endgame, Police State 4, and, of course, Fall of the Republic, which are key to show your friends and family, to make copies of, to get them out to people so they understand what we're facing. This global, non-free market, corporatist, crony collectivist, it's not even crony capitalism, system of fraud where mega banks and big money teams up with government to rape you. These films expose it, and not only is the 5 DVD special going to end, this is an even better special where you get Big Brother, The Orwellian Nightmare Come True free on top of it, Mark Dice's new excellent book. So, and we have to end the special because we've got enough to run through the weekend. They think they're going to watch it. We're running out of Police State 4. It'll take a few weeks. We've already reordered to get more of Police State 4 in, so we have to end the special because we're going to be out of this, and we don't really do back order anymore. Every once in a while we make a mistake and something's back ordered for a week. We don't do back order. So we're going to stop offering this because it's going to run out, period. So if you want to take advantage of this deal, one of the best we've ever offered, it's the Alex Jones Essential with the free Mark Dice book, Infowars.com, or 888-253-3139. Webster, it's like we're living in a surreal world. You're over in Libya, hundreds, it looks like 500,000 in the streets with guns, ready for war. We're being told this is peace, and we're calmly talking about another U.S. invasion with the president saying it's not war. I mean, this is insanity.
It is absolutely Orwellian. Let me just fill you in on what's been going on. I tell you, the oratory is coming hot and heavy. You just missed another burst of Kalashnikov fire, and as far as I can see, the etiquette around here is if you want to go out in the afternoon, you might take your Kalashnikov, but you don't want to be overdressed, but you might want to take your RPG out in the evening. So, again, with the tribal structure and the tradition and the very fierce independence, it's the last place in the world anybody in their right mind would want to invade. And on the other side, in spite of all this, it's a very good-natured crowd, right? This is like it's a holiday. It's a happy crowd, right? They're polemic, right? A lot of great gusto in the chanting. Sarkozy taking it really hard, but at the same time, not animus against foreigners, right? There's no, people punching you or whatever you think you might expect. So it's absolutely surreal because the people that you find here are westernized in the sense that they want modern civilization, they want science, technology, industry, social progress, a rising standard of living. There are a whole lot of cars, and a lot of the people, look, more Kalashnikovs.
Tarpley, I'm looking at this. That looks almost like 1 million people.
It may well be.
This is because I mean, there's so many people they can't even pull the camera far enough back. Now, Webster, we're about to go to break, but you probably don't know about Dominique Strauss-Kahn. It just broke. New York prosecutors are saying the woman's lied about most of her story. and there's talk of the case being dropped. And of course, everybody knows that Sarkozy's chief of staff released that Khan was going to be arrested before it was even in the news. And they admitted they had spies on him. What do you think's happening with Khan, who was set to run against Sarkozy?
I don't know. It is a little bit puzzling, right, to see what's happening. But as soon as Madame Lagarde, the Anglophile agent, was installed in her new post, then they let this whole thing fall to pieces. It's kind of what they do with congressmen. Congressmen are often, the prosecutor will leak a whole lot of stuff during a campaign.
Yeah, they halfway burn them, and then the case falls through, but the change is already made. Stay there.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
My friends, we are now into hour number 2, 5 more minutes with Webster Griffin Tarpley in the middle of what has got to be conservatively 500,000 people. I mean, it is just a giant square, all the side streets completely jam-packed. We're showing live footage for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers. We'll get this live feed also posted at Infowars.com. You can see the new redesign of PrisonPlanet.com, by the way. They're messing with it in some of the browsers right now, but it's a new, sleeker site, and we're working out some bugs right now live at PrisonPlanet.com. Webster, you were finishing up. For those that don't know, you're in the middle of that demonstration. Strauss-Kahn seems seen as near collapse. New York Times, maid who accused DSK of sexual assault, repeatedly lied, the police are saying. Next question on Strauss-Kahn, was he set up? I mean, it's admitted that Sarkozy's Karl Rove, political strategist, released a Twitter before he was even arrested, before it was even in the news, and they later said, yeah, we had spies on Khan, and clearly this is because Khan was going to run against Sarkozy and win. What other comments do you have, Tarpley?
Well, it's just a typical U.S. prosecutorial method. Remember Congressman Weldon of Pennsylvania delved into things, and he got attacked by a prosecutor. Then I don't believe there ever was an indictment at the trial. A congressman from New Jersey, right after 9/11, the senator, name is escaping me now, but he wanted to have an immediate inquiry, and they simply put out a bunch of slanders about him, and he never got a trial. But listen, we got another crescendo Kalashnikovs in the background. I have here one of your fans from Libya wants to say hello. Would that be all right?
Yes, your phone's a little overdriving. Go ahead.
Here we go. Loud. Yeah, hello.
Hello, who is this?
I'm Ashraf. How are you?
Good.
Alex Jones?
I'm good. Tell us what's going on in Libya.
Yeah, what's going on right now? I wish you are here with us to see. It's a very, very, very good view. I'm here with your friend right now, and we wish that you are with us over here. So I hope from you to come over here and do some program, and I will let you have some shooting with my Kalashnikov. Yeah, I will give you any kind of weapon. Just come over here and try any kind of weapon. So you have to come over here. Then do a very, very good program over here, and you will have a lot of guns here. Not only from me, from everyone you will see.
Well, sir, I want to apologize.
We love to see you over here. We love to see you over here, and we love to see your program over here. So,
well, thank you, sir. You know,
come over here.
I want to apologize that America's been seized by megabanks, and they're using us, along with Europe, to do this to your country. But what is going to happen if NATO invades?
If he invades to come inside our country.
Please repeat that, sir.
You mean by embed that he will come inside our country inside?
Yeah, yes, if NATO invades you.
He will be in a very, very big problem with us over here. He will never could stand only for one day. I don't think he will go after to the next day. Only one day we will finish him over here.
Well, I certainly hope for your people and our people this doesn't happen. You guys seem really positive and cheerful. You know, a lot of folks in the West would probably be wetting themselves if the empire was about to invade.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Well, no, it sounds like you have a lot of courage and you're hoping for peace, but you're ready for war.
No, we want the peace, but if they don't want to stop, because they are the one who's not giving us our peace, so if they don't want to stop, then let them come down and let's fight together. We can bring our own peace if they stop. We can discuss our own problem. We don't need the NATO. The NATO is, they are saying that they are protecting the civilians.
All right, well, sir, we're out of time, but thank you. Hopefully we'll get more reports from you there in Libya. Thank Dr. Tarpley. We'll be right back with former U.S. Senator. Stay with us.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
All right, we've got a lot of news on the economy, the debt ceiling, the Russian envoy to NATO saying there is a plan that they're going to try to invade in September or October of Libya. Horrible news for our economy, our troops. We're so bankrupt. But why shouldn't the bankers try to bankrupt us even more? We also have a lot of other really important news dealing with Obama's executive order on the rural councils and UN Agenda 21. We also have more on TSA body scanners. Now in Europe, doctors are refusing to go through and just not allowed to fly. So this is going on all over the world. So we're going to be covering that coming up about 25 minutes from now, when former U.S. Senator Mike Gravel, 2008 presidential candidate and distinguished former U.S. Senator from Alaska from 69 to 81, is the founder of the 9/11 Initiative campaign. Mike has traveled extensively to speak with 9/11 Truth activists about his effort. They've now launched, or about to launch, at 911cc.org or 9-11cc.org. It'll get you there both ways, or MikeGravel.us. You can link over to the other site that way. They got a very exciting initiative to call for a new investigation of 9/11. Again, 9/11, whether you think it's an inside job or not, whether you buy the fairy tales or not, that Santa Claus is real and the rest of it, that Building 7 could fall on its own, that passports could survive and be found that day. I mean, all of this craziness. You cannot deny it's been used against the American people. The Patriot Act is used thousands of times a year per state, admittedly, in non-terror related domestic disputes, marijuana, that our republic is dying. And 9/11 is a stake that they're trying to basically crucify us with. They're killing us with this system. And so the idea, I see these people on my website saying, if you don't like the TSA, don't fly. Well, they admit they're going on the streets of America. I mean, they're going into high school proms. I mean, it's incredible that all of this is happening, and so we've got to expose the fraud, the myth, the fable, the religion of 9/11, the idea that government is going to protect you from real terror attacks, provocateur terror attacks, staged terror attacks, manufactured, synthetic. There's all these different forms of terror attacks, and that's why we've got to expose the big lie of 9/11 that's launched all these wars. They said Saddam did it. You know, I mean, it's ongoing. Senator Gravel, thank you for joining us today to announce this new initiative.
Well, thank you for having me and giving us an audience that's attuned to conspiracy theories and really doesn't buy necessarily what the government has put out. Even the people in the commission that was appointed by Bush admitted that they were designed to fail. They didn't have enough money. They didn't have enough time. And several members called it a fraud. We need to know what's gone on. As you pointed out in your lead-up, here we have probably the most significant event in the last 100 years affecting our history, our survival as a democracy, and it needs to be investigated. We need to know what really happened leading up to 9/11, what happened on 9/11, and what happened in the aftermath of 9/11. And we don't know that. We do know that over the last 9 years, almost 10 years now, that private citizens, on their own initiative, have gone out and done unbelievable research, scientific research, analysis, and really that information, that knowledge, that data indicates that there's just something askew in what really happened, and we need to know it. Now, we're not saying that this party or that party are the guilty parties. What we're saying is the facts do not add up at this point in time, and it's in our national interest to investigate the situation to determine what really did happen and if there were other people involved in criminality. But we don't know that yet. We just know that it doesn't add up right now.
Well, I had, and this is important because it shows the people's tactics that are going to be used, the folks that want to suppress inquiry, investigation, transparency. The BBC came here to interview me, and I had agreed to the interview, but then forgot about it. Months later, they showed up, and I was kind of blindsided by it. And once I was in the interview, the individual interviewing me just kept giggling, and I would say, well, do you think passports can magically come out of the fireball in the plane and be found in all the bedlam? And he giggled and said, yes, I do. And it was real funny. So, I mean, I was dealing with a real mercenary. And then he said, don't you want to deny 9/11 truth? Don't you know it's dying? Don't you know it's been discredited when actually the opposite's happened according to all the polls and the evidence? And now I understand that they're going to people in the 9/11 truth movement who clearly are cognitive dissonance folks that Cass Sunstein talked about, infiltrators, who basically are called up, before the council to admit they're a witch and to denounce us and say that we're witches. It's kind of like that thing from 500 years ago. And he said, do you want to renounce your 9/11 trutherism? Everyone's renouncing it. And it's kind of like everybody knows the moon is made of cheese. Everybody knows they found WMDs in Iraq. So they're so desperate to prop up their fable, their conspiracy theory, that they're now going to incredible lengths. They've got all these U.S. and foreign specials, British specials, BBC specials coming out where they announce, that Ding Dong, the evil witch of 9/11 truth is dead. And it shows how desperate they are, Senator.
And it's not working. It's not working at all, because I think any reasonable person looking at the situation can't quarrel with having an investigation. It's just so fundamental. When you don't have all the information, having an investigation is just logical, and that's really the whole case that we make. We're not defining a conspiracy. We're just saying that there's enough questions that require an investigation. And since the body politic, my God, the politicians are frightened of this, and they think it's a poison pill for their own careers if they even step forward and say something on it. And so what we need is what we're doing, which is beginning to take ordinary citizens and bring them to the fore in pressing for this investigation.
Well, we're going to talk about the new initiative, but people tend to forget now, coming up just a few months away, 3 months away now, or less, 10-year anniversary, that 6 of the 10 9/11 commissioners say that it was either a complete fraud and a lie and a criminal cover-up by the, quote, Pentagon and White House, or a partial cover-up. In the aftermath of the 3 lawyers, 2 of the lawyers, Farmer and others, have come out and said it's a criminal cover-up. Cheney and Bush testified not under oath but in secret. I mean, it just goes on and on. Folks forget the commission itself, after the fact, came out and said it was a fraud because they know later the truth's going to come out, and they had pangs of conscience.
That's accurate, Alex. And that alone, forget all the other data, with respect to Building 7 and all of that, but that alone requires a new investigation. Without going into any conspiracies, we're just saying that the people who were charged with investigating it have said we didn't do the job, and they've said even worse, as you pointed out. So how could anybody question the efficacy of going forth with not asking the government, because we know we'll not get justice from the government, but asking the people in various states, do you want a new investigation? And if they vote in the affirmative for the initiative, then a body comes into being, a citizens commission comes into being, which then other states, by initiative or resolution, can tie into with a joint powers agreement. And so we can broaden the geographic reach of this commission right across the country, even though we don't have it in federal law at a national level.
And by the way, the feds are obviously very scared of this. They tried to get a state investigation and then a city investigation in New York. And even though they had the signatures, the courts wouldn't let it come forward. They are kicking and screaming. They do not want independent investigations to draw attention to the complete nonsensical fairy tale. Because the media, the corporate globalist media always says, well, you have all these different views and ideas, because we don't know the truth. We're investigating. There's a whole sea of different ideas. A lot of them have been proven to be operatives that go in to try to say ridiculous things to discredit real inquiry. And we're seeing that's the new initiative with the BBC. I've been just confirmed some information this morning that just blows me away. We have to continue to collate the information. The system is very scared and trying to rewrite history again back to their false narrative, but it's not going to work.
No, I don't think so, and I think that this approach, it's an actionable approach. What we've had within the 9/11 truth movement is essentially the gathering of information and data. What we're now doing is taking this information and saying, hey, we need a legitimate investigation. The government's not going to give it to us, so we need to use the only tool at our disposal, which exists in 24 states where people can make laws directly. And so we're going to be using that, whether California, Oregon, Massachusetts, Colorado, Alaska, Arkansas, we'll be using that vehicle to get the people to make the decision, or ask the people to make the decision, should an investigation go forward, should we create a new commission. Now, to do that, Alex, the rub is will we be able to raise the monies? Nobody in the leadership role here is well endowed financially, but will we be able to raise the contributions from ordinary citizens, maybe a few angels, to get this undertaking on its way and get the information to the American people as to what they can do.
Senator Gravel, stay there. Let's come back and talk about the new initiative in detail. Stay with us. Former U.S. Senator Mike Gravel, presidential candidate, is our guest. Unfortunately, we only have one more segment with him, but I look forward to having him up for a full hour in the near future as this initiative launches. So, codify exactly the new site, when it's launching, what you plan to do with this new initiative.
First off, the site is 9-11 or just 911cc.org, and CC stands for the Campaign Committee. And now, what the initiative does, it permits people to be able to vote for or against creating a new commission that will be appointed by the board of directors of the Campaign Committee, and that commission or that language will set up a transfer of the political jurisdiction in questions power, grand jury powers, to be able to subpoena, to be able to put people under oath, and to be able to provide a report of indictment that would be turned over to the jurisdiction in question. Now, once we can get this initiative enacted into a single state or a number of states on a parallel fashion, then other states will be able to, by initiative or by law of their legislative bodies, join this commission and add their jurisdiction, their grand jury powered jurisdiction to the commission. And so if we start start, let's say, with Oregon, Alaska, and then Massachusetts, and then California can tie into. You got to look upon it as we're creating a bucket of powers, grand jury powers, and other states can decide to jump in and be part of that body of powers. And not only states, but local jurisdictions that have initiative powers like New York City and over 50 in the state of Texas, where they can, by law, either legislative by the people with initiatives, or their governments can choose to just join the effort. And as people across the country realize what this commission can do, there will be a lot of effort, a lot of political power pushing legislators to join in this investigation. And so it's a de facto national initiative that we're creating by filing it in various states. Now, the success of being able to do this is all dependent upon, can we raise the money from ordinary citizens who put up $10, $20, $100 that will permit us to fund this undertaking. And the funding of the commission itself can come from the various jurisdictions across the country.
Well, I mean, explain this to me, because I think it's a good idea to have investigations and have grand juries be contacted, or have state commissions or even city commissions, because if a city lost any of its citizens, it can do it. New York obviously would be the ideal place. That's been tried. They got the signatures, but it was blocked, even though the law said they should have done it. But I mean, what about an initiative just to get it on referendums in states, to have a state have a commission? I mean, in law, because I know you're a former U.S. Senator, you know a lot, so explain it to me. How are you going to get states to say, yes, we're now going, pass this resolution, now we're going to bring in this, this commission, that you guys have created, or is your commission more of an advisory movement to get the state to set up its own commission?
No, God, no, it's not an advisory. This is real. What we do is, by passing an initiative in any one state, let's say we pass it in Oregon, where it takes less than 100,000 people to vote for it. If the people vote to create this commission, any other states, by initiative or by law enacted through their legislatures, can join that commission once it's in existence. And that's what we will have.
And the constitutional lawyers say this passes muster.
Yeah, that's for sure. In fact, it's a takeoff on what we had historically. You remember the terminology, a runaway grand jury. Well, what had happened was, before the government covered its backside by changing the law, people could form a grand jury and go ahead and investigate. Well, they were investigating the criminality of government, and so this was so threatening that the law was changed.
No, I understand. That's why they've turned juries and grand juries into kept creatures of the prosecution. Well, Senator Gravel, we're definitely going to have to get you back up in the near future. This initiative is, I guess, being launched right now. The site's up. It looks great. And if folks want to find out more, or feel that you think this is a good initiative to get involved with, to donate, 911cc.org and or MikeGravel.us. You'll find links there. Senator, have a great weekend, and thanks for all your great work investigating the tragic events of 9/11.
Thank you, Alex, for having us on.
You bet. Stay with us. News Blitz coming up. Trying to think of new ways to get the word out, and the guys back in the shipping department had the idea of sunscreens for your cars, and this baby's $19.95, and it's got Infowars.com in big letters. It says, because there's a war on for your mind. If you want to turn your car into a big advertisement for truth and liberty, remember how the globalists are trying to censor Infowars.com. Remember how they are constantly trying to block us. YouTube trying to say that we're racist against Obama, trying to ban our channel, then having to admit it wasn't true and remove the strikes against our account. they're scared of this information. At Bilderberg, they're scared of Ron Paul. They're scared of the Liberty Movement. They're scared of what we specifically are doing. So every time you get the website URL, Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com out, it turns a knife in the kidney of the New World Order. Also, I'm going to hold this special through the weekend, and that's all I can hold it through because we're running out of Police State 4, the rise of FEMA. And so we'll hold the special throughout the weekend. Obama Deception, Terror Storm, Endgame, Police State 4, The Rise of FEMA, Fall of the Republic, and Mark Dice's excellent new premiere book, free. Big Brother, The Orwellian Nightmare, come true, absolutely free on top of it. So 5 films with the extended extras. Get them out to everybody you know, $29.95, and a free, thick, very informative book paralleling the Orwellian similarities with the fictitious book Big Brother, the fictitious book 1984, with how it's now come true today, how fiction has now become fact, and the Orwellian nightmare come true. Big Brother available at Infowars.com separately. We also have a deal to get the book for $9.95 through the weekend with free shipping if you choose just to get the book alone, or get it free when you order the 5 DVDs, Infowars.com. Or again, you can also see all the films in super high quality at PrisonPlanet.tv, where we also stream the radio show in video, living color. Let me give the phone number out so we can take calls coming up a little bit later in the hour, and then throughout the third hour with our weekly Friday visit with Bob Chapman. I can't wait to bring up the whole Dominique Strauss-Kahn situation with him. Before I get into some of the other news, let me just hit that right now. Strauss-Kahn case seen as near collapse. And when this first happened, I said, look, Kahn's a bad guy for his policies, world government, world carbon taxes, globalist, of that, corrupt, parasitical, globalist ruling class. But I went on and said, you can get away with murder in France, in their city like Paris, or New York in the U.S., UN diplomats get caught with sex slaves chained up, murdering people. Bill Clinton raping women one after the other and settling with them. First thing, it wasn't true that he rapes them and bites them, and he's protected. So why are they normally protected over and over again? But then the head of the IMF, Dominique Strauss-Kahn, started to agree that maybe they shouldn't bankrupt all the countries. Maybe they were going too fast. Maybe let's not break up the euro yet. And that he was going to run against Sarkozy. He was above him in all the polls, on average about 10 points, set to run next year in the next election in France. Sarkozy, a total globalist puppet. And then Kahn leaves, checks out, goes and eats, hangs out with family in New York that we're visiting, gets on a plane, and they grab him off the plane and say he was running and things. Turned out that wasn't true, but the biggest piece of evidence is this. It's that the chief political strategist for Sarkozy, his Karl Rove, his David Gergen, admitted in the Le Figaro, BBC, he said, they called and said, you Twittered more than 30 minutes before he was even arrested. You Twittered that he had raped a woman, or tried to rape a woman, and was going to be, or had been arrested. How did you know that? And then we turned out one of Sarkozy's aides did it as well. 2 different Twitters to the media, alerting them to make sure the story was spun the way they wanted. And they said, well, we had spies in the hotel watching him. I mean, oh, wow. You knew this supposedly happened because you had spies following him. Oh, you're not setting him up. You just have spies following him. Well, now the New York Times is reporting Strauss-Kahn case seen as near collapse. And this is the New York Times. The sexual assault case against Dominique Strauss-Kahn is on the verge of collapse as investigators have uncovered major holes in the credibility of the housekeeper who charged that he attacked her in the Manhattan hotel suite in May, according to 2 well-placed law enforcement officials. This is a guy who was staying in a $4,000 a night hotel room. This is a guy who flies around on private jets everywhere, where French Airways keeps a seat open for him on every flight to and from France, on all their major planes, all their major flights. There's a seat just for Dominique Strauss-Kahn, DSK, and he can have any women he wants. He reportedly did with a French reporter, 8 years ago, say, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and start, saying, "I want you," like Pepe Le Pew, and grabbing at her, which is terrible. Unless you're a TSA agent, then it's security. So the issue here is whether he did it or not. Now, first it was rape, then it was he grabbed on her. Well, Al Gore, the woman reportedly saved the DNA. They're not interested in that. She described him like a sex-crazed poodle. And then when she wouldn't have the relations, he just ran over like a dog. I don't want to get into what dogs do, but you know what they do. That's why she had the DNA on her, and just pinned her and just basically, well, you know what people do. Like a dog. Quote, crazed sex poodle. And you notice that got swept under the rug. So whether he did it or not, why have they decided to go after him when normally Bill Clinton can bite women? That's how he dominates them. He bites their lips, bites their nose. That's his specialty. Really hard, bleeding, like a wild animal, kind of like you're in a bear trap. Grabs your nose and then does what he does. That's what Ted Bundy would do as well. Very, very nice people. So I asked the question of why is this happening? Why is this going on? Now, continuing here. With this article, although forensic test found unambiguous evidence of sexual encounter between Mr. Strauss-Kahn and French politician and the woman, prosecutors now do not believe much of what the accuser has told them about the circumstances or about himself. Or did he really do it, and now they just did this to get him out of the IMF job and kind of discredit him, and now they're going to drop it. I mean, we don't know. The point is there's all sorts of foul play going on here. Continuing here, since her initial allegation on May 14th, the accuser has repeatedly lied, one of the law enforcement officials said. By the way, the toll-free number to join us to talk about any of these issues I've raised so far today is 1-800-259-9231, 1-800-259-9231. We'll get you up and on the air. I said we're going to take calls, and I forget to give the number out. 800-259-9231. We'll get you here on the transmission today. Continuing, senior prosecutors met with lawyers from Strauss-Kahn on Thursday and provided details about their findings, and the parties are discussing whether to dismiss the felony charges. Among the discoveries, one of the officials said, are varying issues involving the asylum application of a 32-year-old housekeeper who is from Africa, Guyana, and possible links to people involved in criminal activities, including drug smuggling and money laundering. Oh, she's mob connected, and then magically there's Sarkozy French spies in the building, and then this happens. Oh, but because there was one reported groping, maybe, that's called rape. Now they have a bill in the legislature of New York that all hotel workers have to wear an emergency beacon because there might be rapists somewhere. That's like the TSA. Well, terrorists hit us. And instead of just arming the pilots, I mean, do you really believe on planes that had a 22% occupancy was the average, that, dozens of men on board, that guys got up with box cutters, everybody kissed? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not aggressing, I'm sorry. Somebody gets up with box cutters and says, I'm hijacking this plane. A major can of Tyrannosaurus Rex is going to get opened. And folks, I've had my what plenty of times, but people a lot tougher. Look, I'm telling you right now, you get in the fight with an average man, I mean, they are going to stomp the living daylights out of you. When someone is being oppressed, they have the power. When someone attacks you, you've got the power. A few times I got in fights where I wasn't 100% right, and in the right, I had no power. I couldn't black out and tear people to pieces. But I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think New Yorkers and people up there are a bunch of wimps. I've been in New York a lot. The people aren't wimps up there. They're ready to get in a fight like anybody else. I don't believe people from the East Coast laid down like this. I don't believe it, including military veterans that were on board those aircraft. See, I'm now digressing. I don't believe it. It's all fraud. It's ridiculous, but sorry. the point is, do you really believe that people with box cutters did this, and then now we've got to have the TSA doing this nationwide? Now they're saying if there's ever a shooting at a mall, which they're looking for patsies and mentally ill people to do it. If they advertise enough, there's going to be shoot-ups in malls. Crazies are going to do it. We got to have TSA outside every mall. Then they're going to attack schools. Got to have takeover police state at schools. Now happened. Then there's going to be attacks on the highways. Got to have that there. Then there's going to be attacks at the supermarket. Got to have. I mean, it never ends. And then we have the government with an armed camp to keep us safe. But they're really the ones taking our rights, robbing us, and the tyranny is set up in their own documents for we the people. So that's how my brain works. I get into Dominique Strauss-Kahn and the fact that she's mafia connected, the police are reporting, and the cops must be completely freaked out by this. Because obviously higher-ups, Bloomberg said, go ahead with the prosecution. That's how compartmentalization works. It's not like all the cops are evil. But it's go ahead with the prosecution. We've got the witness. Throw the book at him. And the cops are like, well, here she is. We're going to go ahead and go along with it. And then now the cops start burrowing deeper into it, and they're now going, oh, it looks bad. Looks like a setup. That's why, well, continuing here, prosecutors and defense lawyers will return to state superior court in Manhattan today. In fact, we need to continue to follow this and see the latest on Kahn. Let's search engine Strauss-Kahn to see the latest. When Justice Michael J. Obas is expected to consider easing the extraordinary bail conditions that he imposed on Mr. Strauss-Kahn in the days after he was charged. Indeed, Mr. Strauss-Kahn could be released on his own recognizance and freed from house arrest, reflecting the likelihood that the serious charges against him will not be sustained. And it just goes on. I got another one here. A maid who accused DSK of sexual assault repeatedly lied, sources say. And again, she's told, hey, you got HIV. They were also reporting that, and then we don't know that's true. And you want to stay in the U.S., you're connected to all these groups, you're going to get to stay. Just get into his room. And then they insert him into the room, and the rest is history, or her into the room, and the rest is history. And then the enemy of Sarkozy is removed, and they get an even more globalist, because he had been criticizing the total implosion of society. He had been doing this. So I'm done talking about that. There it is. Strauss-Kahn, house arrest ends. That's in the Wall Street Journal. And if we scroll down there, please, I'll be able to read that. But we now know that his reported house arrest ends. Here, I can just pull it up right here. Dominique Strauss-Kahn. Dominique Strauss-Kahn. I can find it out right here and read it. Click news. I just didn't come up. Can you guys put that article back up and just scroll up a little bit, because I want to see what's going on with this breaking right now. Because for some reason I put that in, and the way the system works. There it is. Former International Monetary Fund leader Dominique Strauss-Kahn was released from house arrest Friday, and new revelations about his accuser in an alleged sexual assault, but criminal charges weren't dismissed. So that did happen. At the court hearing, Assistant District Attorney said prosecutors consented to changes to his bail conditions because of their view and strength of charges against Mr. Strauss-Kahn has changed. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Now the French are saying, he's going to win even bigger. He better not get on any airplanes, or Sarkozy isn't going to stop there. Okay, let's go ahead and go to phone calls here. Let's go ahead and talk to Steve in Florida. Steve, you're on the air.
Yeah, hey, Alex. Two things I'd like to bring up real quick. Number one, since you had the senator on about the 9/11 reinvestigation, Dan Patrick, senator in Texas there, I lived in Houston. I lived in Texas for 14 and a half years before I moved here to Florida. But, 2 years ago, I called his show on the anniversary of 9/11. It was the 8th anniversary. And I'm glad he's calling out the corrupt government there in Austin. However, I would like to see you call him out, because the thing is that when I tried to talk about 9/11 being an inside job, he totally shut me down, told the party line of the neocons. And so while I'm glad that he's taking this kind of stand, I still have my doubts about his credibility as one that's for the people in the office that he's in, because of the fact that he will not come out.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you. You're talking about State Senator Dan Patrick here in Texas.
Right. The one.
Yeah, they didn't do a special session. We should pressure Perry to bring another one back. And they even killed their whitewash bills. And so Dan Patrick isn't even on the radar screen. I know he was a radio talk show host before becoming a state senator, and now he's extremely prominent. But, I mean, in the whole scope of the world, he's a nobody. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, of course, I call out anybody who buys into the whole fairy tale, because how do you criticize the TSA groping? Well, what do you expect from a government that criminal elements in it staged the 9/11 attacks? I mean, the hijackers on record were trained at U.S. bases. Newsweek, Associated Press. You know, the FBI magically found passports that day, totally made up in the rubble. I mean, does anyone believe that? They ordered a stand down of NORAD. I mean, the list goes on and on. We don't know exactly what happened, but we know there's cops saying, get back, they're going to blow up 7. And the news said Building 7 has fallen its own footprint. And they cut to it, and it's still standing there because they had that report ready to get out their story, and they jumped the gun. And so, I mean, I totally hear what you're saying, Stephen, but I mean, you know, at the end of the day, Dan Patrick, give me a break. I mean, he's a state senator from Texas, he's been groped, and others have been groped, and other members of the House and Senate have been groped, so they're mad about it. These guys fly a lot. It's like, hey, this is the tyranny you wanted. You want to believe fairy tales, you're going to get jackboots sticking their hands down your pants. Your wife and daughters are going to be felt up by, you know, pedos, as they call them. And so, you know, Dan Patrick will wake up later when America's totally, you know, just Nazi Germany on steroids. That's why we got to plant the seeds now. A lot of folks aren't going to listen now. They're going to listen later when the pain comes. We'll be right back.
I was sitting in traffic, listening to the radio. George Strait was singing Seashores of Old Mexico. It sounded so good.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk to Joe in Minnesota, then G2, Pamela, Luke, and others. Toll-free number. Oh, South Korea. I'll have to go to Luke after Joe. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231 on this Friday edition. Let's go to Joe in Minnesota. Go ahead. That must be a prank call. We don't screen the calls. It's part of the entertainment there. Or maybe it's somebody being killed. Fade that back up. Kind of sounded real. You dropped him? Okay. Let's go ahead and talk to Luke in South Korea. Luke, you're on the air.
Oh, hi there. How are you, Alex? How are you going?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, sir?
All right. I was just on the Prison Planet forums, and I was talking about the Greens Party in Australia. Their leader, Bob Brown, just called for a globalist government. And if you go to the homepage for the Greens Party in Australia, they say their justification for wanting a global government is for human rights. But I've just uncovered that all these outlaw motorcycle gang law hype in Australia, because we don't have enough terrorists, so we demonise the Hells Angels and make these crime of association gang laws. Well, anyway, the very force driving those laws is the United Nations. And this particular charter affects America too. The United Nations Charter Against Transnational Organised Crime, Article 5, criminalisation of participation in a criminal group. And that's what
I know suddenly all over the world, the answer to any problems is a private corporate global government. Time Magazine, Newsweek, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal. But separately, though, they call for a private global corporate government that we all pay carbon taxes to, and a global Agenda 21 under the 10 regions of the world, with 10 sub-regions per region, under the Rural Council, the Global Food Council, the Governor's Councils, and we're now going under official UN treaty, world government. Ronald Reagan warned about it in '64. I just saw an incredible clip we played last hour. I can't believe I never saw that, about that plan. I knew about the plan from Bernadine Smith. She sent me news articles over a decade ago from like the LA Times and things where the plan had been discussed. but I didn't know Reagan had spoken out against it. But again, separately, though, the ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center, mainstream media says we're crazy. And Herman von Rompuy, the head of the EU, calling for global government, the new Prime Minister of England calling for it, the last guy. None of that exists, though. We're going under corporate global government. Now, I just Googled Paul Brown, head of Australia calls for world government, and I didn't find it. I believe you because I've seen him call for it before. I guess I go to prisonplanet.com and then click on the prisonplanet.com forum, and then I'll try to find it. What section of the forum is it?
International news in the main section. Actually, I'm going to come to what it's about. So basically, the Greens say they're for human rights and all this crap, but this particular law, before it can be passed in Victoria, and that's their plan, they have to destroy the closest thing Australia has to the Bill of Rights, which prohibits crime of association. So because the UN says we have to delete the Victorian Human Rights and Responsibilities Charter, 2006. So these new gang laws the UN is pushing can be put in. So if we do what the Greens say, we are destroying our own human rights, Bill of Rights-like legislation in Victoria. So this is proof the Greens are against human rights. And I just want to go on to talk about the very first outlaw motorcycle gang law in Australia, because it's just been used against an 18-year-old Aboriginal boy for a Facebook one-liner. All he said was a police officer was gay, and he's just been charged with 60C Crimes Act.
Oh, yeah, I know. All over the world, they've got thought crime, speech crime, tyranny.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Okay, Bob Chapman coming up to cover all of this week's economic developments that are big. Obviously, it gets more and more crazy. A lot of other news on Libya, on the police state. We're going to be covering it all in this jam-packed hour, and take your calls for those of you that are holding. But I'm on the Prison Planet forum, which we've just updated prisonplanet.com with a new look. It loads quicker, looks better. And we're getting very close to the social network. That should be done in a month or so. We keep pushing it back, because we always redo other things or upgrade things or try to keep all the other balls in the air, straight that we're involved in. But it's kind of hard to find the Prison Planet forum. When you go to Prison Planet, you got to go to one of the social media links, and it's at the bottom. I'm going to have that changed to being a prominent link. But it's forum.com, prisonplanet.com, because there's millions of posts in there. And I'm on there, sir. I want to look at this, with the Australian leader calling for global government. I know a lot of them do this now, but I want to find it. And I'm on the main page, and I see general discussion, Prison Planet, educational, art, satire, cartoons, parodies, off-topic, fake news, whining threads, Prison Planet forum, journalism, activism, live show. Somebody should post it in that area. Acknowledge defenders, expose enemies, activism, 9/11 material research. Where is this link you're talking about? Caller from South Korea who's Australian.
Okay, if you go to the, I'll go back, it's into the main boards, then you go general discussion for Prison Planet Educational Forum and Library.
I'm there.
International news, and up the top there on the first page, you'll see Australia's first gang law, 60C, used against 18-year-old Aboriginal boy by gay police officer. I know it's a shocking claim, but Google backs it up, ABC News backs it up, the New South Wales Police own press release backs it up.
Yeah, well, this is the best way then, because I'm on there and I can't find it. Give me the headline, and I'll get it right now. Just give it to me.
Okay. Australia's first gang law, 60C, used against 18-year-old Aboriginal boy. Okay. It's on the international section. Now, 60C Crimes Act is the crime of obtaining true personal information. Google case shows this Aboriginal boy made a one-line comment on Facebook about a police officer's sexuality. If he lied, he would be charged with public defamation. But if you actually know the police officer is gay, you can get 5 years jail for obtaining true personal information. And actually, I was on the another radio show in the US, the Kim Commando show, and she went all constitutional and said this could never happen in America because
No, I found it. I found the mainstream news articles. We'll have to look into this. Again, this is what they do. First in Europe, they said you can't be a Nazi or you're arrested. Then you can't criticize government. Then you can't. Robin Page, who isn't even political, said rural communities deserve the same rights as gays and Muslims. Homosexuals and Muslims. And they said the word homosexual was now insulting, even though it's like saying homosexual. It's just a name. It's a scientific name. He was arrested, BBC reporter. And so this is the thought crime, and this is what they're now teaching in our public schools here, getting us ready for it. And just incredible. I'll have to look more into this. But, yes, I have the ABC News story out of Australia, and they're reporting it with a straight face. And again, if you call someone heterosexual, you don't get 5 years in prison. That's what hate crimes are. It's special rights. It's like, you are gay, you are the supreme ruler, and we must send our children to public school, and you will teach them. You're like, but I don't want my 5-year-old being taught about any type of sex. Shut up, homophobe, we're arresting you. SWAT team, get him, Battle Forge. And I mean, this is the new America. This is the new England. This is the new, they're trying it in the U.S. Canada, they arrest you similarly. Sir, this is incredible. I'm glad you got it on the show. Holy mackerel. Somebody on a Facebook, some kid just made a joke about some website. Don't let hate dictate, embrace diversity. And so the guy made a comment about it, just an offhanded thing, and he's going to jail. I mean, boy, I tell you, Australia, woo!
From his Central Texas Command Center, deep behind enemy lines, the information war continues. It's Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
If you want to know what tyranny is going to look like, we're going to play this Ronald Reagan clip in a moment. Look at England, look at Australia, look at Canada. I see the reports constantly where a BBC reporter, Robin Page, host of One Man and His Dog, is actually pretty liberal, in a speech said they're shutting down our farms, they're banning hunting. We need the same rights for the culture of rural people as Muslims and homosexuals. And they arrested him and said, we have a committee of people who decide what's hate, and the word homosexual is that. So I guess if I call my dog a canine, it's hateful to dogs. Or if I call a frog a reptile, or if I say I'm a heterosexual, I should then be arrested. Or if I call the sun a gaseous combustion system, it's sonophobic. Or if I call a television, an old-fashioned television, a cathode ray tube display device, arrest. But, I mean, let's say you called someone horrible names. Let's say you called someone who was gay the derogative terms. It's free speech. But see, all of the, quote, protected groups who then are put into special guilds in government, they can do whatever they want to you. But you, and I mean, my wife has women come up to her in the grocery store. That's why she wanted to move out of Austin. It doesn't happen where we live now in the country. Nice people. And women will come up at Whole Foods and go, you've got 3 children? I mean, this actually happens. And, of course, they're totally unhappy by the time they're 45 and desperately trying to have them, these poor women. But I mean, it is a hatred of life. And you go to the Whole Foods counter and it's like, how to live austerely. It's so cool to live under austerity. It's good we're getting poor. I've shown you the magazines. Oh, the bankers. It's an idea of being poor, being great, being a schmuck, being conned. And here it is, the caller called us about, and sure enough, teen charged over Port Macquarie police Facebook harassment. And this is ABC News Australia. A Port teenager has been charged with harassing police through a social networking site. Police say last month, 18-year-old allegedly created a Facebook title, All Port Macquarie Police Are Corrupt. Uh-oh! Actually, and we have screenshots of the evil site on the Prison Planet forum. We have it saved so you can see the crime. Local police say it named a couple of officers. The page has been taken down. So actually reading deeper, it's saying they're corrupt. Boom. You don't film in your front yard in America. You don't call them corrupt. But then they also charged him for saying, you know, look at this photo of the police together. I mean, what are they all? I mean, oh, my gosh. Well, they'll show him, won't they? You know, spend some time. The taxpayers are going to pay. They've already taken the Aussies' guns. They killed Crocodile Dundee. The real Crocodile Dundee wouldn't turn his guns in. They SWAT teamed him, murder him hardcore. Well, he was killed like 12 years ago. Yeah, even NRA wrote about that. I've got the original magazine. I was digging through files a few months ago and actually ran into it, meant to take it in here. They showed him, didn't they? That country belongs to them. Of course, their government's totally sold out to the communist Chinese. I also see here, yes, their prime minister's called for world government, but it doesn't exist. And government says if you talk about it, you're probably a terrorist. The teen has been charged with obtaining personal information about the police officer for the purpose of harassment. And it turns out they got public, because they've got the big write-up on Prison Planet, public stuff that they put out, and they said, look at this person, you know, and, oh, nope, don't do that, you're going to jail. Police say there were some positive comments about them on the page. Oh, well, that's not allowed either. The young man is due in court August 8th, so he'll stay in jail until then. Well, that's good. So, I mean, actually, the gay part was only part of it. He said they were corrupt, and that's a form of harassment. So he's been dealt with now immediately. Now, we're going to Bob Chapman. I want his take on this first, because it's something I covered in the first hour, but I want to get his take on it. We're going to go back to your calls as well. Bob Chapman, former intelligence officer, biggest private silver and gold broker, helped do the Gary Allen report. Now his son, of course, runs Politico, Gary Allen's son. But a preeminent guy fighting tyranny for 50 years and has had to, of course, leave the United States due to harassment so he can live to fight another day, joining us from an undisclosed location, joining us here in a moment. But President Obama's Executive Order 13575 creates rural councils. And so you won't believe me 2 weeks ago when I talked about this, or 16 years ago when I talked about Agenda 21. Even though I'm going under it in Austin, doubling the power prices, raping everything, home inspections, total harassment, big globalist groups, above the law, giving waivers. But it's happening. But here's Ronald Reagan in 64, talking about what the Agriculture Department was trying to do then. And the Agriculture Department's statement is, get big or get out. Their policy is to shut down small farms. They have the premises ID, the animal ID. They have they tried to pass the Food Safety Act, because Big Pharma owned Big Agra is always, it's a big combine, they're all merged. They have 17 million in 1 week last November to try to pass that, to openly shut down all the small farms and ranches with incredible, $10 in regulation with chips, tags on a $5 chicken, just total bankruptcy. But then Tyson and the rest are exempt. That's just one example. Just the end of it all. Now, the IRS already doesn't let you write off your hobby farm. You keep a family farm, a family ranch. You try to run cattle to get the state tax exemption because you couldn't pay it if it wasn't there with the property tax. And then you run the cattle. You pretty much lose money having them, but you got to have them there to be able to have the tax exempt. And they come in now to my family and they say, you're not getting that. You don't get to, it's got to be profitable or you're out. But then it's incredible. Most small farms and ranches, they work at the feed store, or they work at the prison, or they work at the power company, or they work, delivering mail on a route. I know or they're truck drivers, and then they take care of their cows when they get home at 7 o'clock at night, or they take care of their sheep or their crops. It's all over. And they're going to have the receivership arm come in with federal help so they can have the federal busybodies there to organize and con everybody. Don't worry, America's going down. You wanted America. You want tyranny, you're getting it. Here's Ronald Reagan talking about it.
You'll find that they've also asked for the right to imprison farmers who wouldn't keep books as prescribed by the federal government. The Secretary of Agriculture asked for the right to seize farms through condemnation and resell them to other individuals. And contained in that same program was a provision that would have allowed the federal government to remove 2 million farmers from the soil.
If you live in the heartland of America, you have to listen up. While the nation was distracted with the Anthony Weiner drama, President Obama signed an executive order that will seize greater power over food, fiber, and energy
in our vast
countryside area.
And they go over the executive order. Homeland Security, spy brigades, local Homeland Security offices, Department of Defense offices, they're going to help you. Meanwhile, the rest of the story, me find my stack. Here it is. The rest of the story breaks down that they, during the winter, let all these highland lakes, mountain lakes, where all these major floods are having, change their policy. Flood everyone. They let it build up, and then knowing the snow melt would come, and releasing it all at once, and they are openly trying to force folks off their land. I read this in the first hour, and bragging that it's good to get people off of their land. And so now they're not fixing the dams. They're not building ones. They're tearing them down. But they use the existing dams to build it up and then flood you. And they were advised on this. They knew it was coming. And now they're going to take the property. Bob Chapman, I tell you, it is just getting crazier and crazier. You wrote about Agenda 21 back in 1992 when they first rammed it through. And Maurice Strong said, we're going to bankrupt the West. That is our goal. And that is their goal. And the average person just can't admit it's this bad.
You're absolutely correct. And it's been an evolving process, something that's been very subtle. Didn't show its head the way it has until just recently. Reminds me of 666, the agglomeration of cities into regions, and that's coming next, I'm sure. And that was written about 50 years ago. And so these people got a lot of patience, and they're putting into operation what they want to put in. It reminds me of the years between 1934 and 1939 in Germany. They did all these kinds of things, but today they're so much more advanced than they were then. That was a experiment, learning curve. I firmly believe that the situation that existed and was financed the way it was in Germany during the 1930s, and before that actually, was a trial run for what we're seeing today. And proof of that, you look at the amalgamation of Western and Eastern Germany some 15 years ago, and you'll see that all of the people who were involved in spying on both sides and the Stasi were never prosecuted for anything. It was incredible. I mean, intelligence organizations spent years and years spying on the Russians and the East Germans, and for the same kinds of things. And if you remember, Alex, it wasn't all that long ago, then they had Marcus Wolf and some of the other people who were involved in Stasi and in the KGB in America with the State Department, and they were under contract to teach Americans in that sphere how to do that and how to set up spying systems, which you've mentioned.
Well, Bob, we're going to break, but, I mean, this is so diabolical. He sets up, Bush starts, Obama continues the 10 governor council so he can ignore the states. Under FEMA has 10 kept minion governors that now run the 10 regions. They set up, as they've done in other countries, this rural affairs office where they admit, now you're going to have the Department of Defense and the feds running around in your cornfields. I mean, stay there, Bob. It is so hellish. People have no idea how much trouble we are in. We are being occupied just like Iraq or Libya or any of these countries. By the way, I'm on the prisonplanet.com forum, and you've got all these world leaders calling for it, but I did find the Australian Prime Minister calling for global government, and then they've got the Green parties. When you click on it, greens.org.au, I'm going to get Watson or Kerr, somebody do an article on this. It says global governance, and it's got the path to world government. It's got how great the International Criminal Court is, how great the UN is, that all nations must accept the criminal court and the UN invasion armies for peace. I mean, this is, they come in, they fund a group to uprise, and then the UN invades you. And it's all happening, and of course they put Obama in and gave him a peace prize. That's all part of the joke. It's all part of it is peace. That's what Obama keeps saying. He said in his speech a couple days ago, we played the clip yesterday, he said, I don't need to talk to Congress. This isn't war. This is peace. I mean, he actually said that. He said, this is peace. This is peace. Bob Chapman, they are just, it's happening. The world government's here.
Well, they're going forward like it was here, and they want it to be here, and they're making it be here, and all the earmarks are there. And Australia has been one of the leading places obeying the orders of the New World Order, which is rather surprising. I didn't think that they, in years past, would be, but they are. We carry an Australian section in our international forecaster. We have a lot of news coming out of there. We have several good sources there, and they've got some pretty good coverage through the media there that you are still be able to pick something up that's useful. But we're going to see this all over the world. It's part of a larger plan, and they're ready to go on it, and they're pushing it. And the people who are involved, are coming right out and saying, yes, we have to have a new world order. And you're going to hear more and more of them. They're trying to condition you to think that maybe that's good and it's better than being unemployed.
But then I still even go on mainline Republican shows, and they still go, you're a conspiracy theorist. You believe there's a group setting up world government. And they're like all over the news saying that's the answer to everything. But even some mainline conservative talk show hosts still can't wake up because they remember the 30 years past where you're not supposed to talk about it because it doesn't exist. So it's like somebody who's been told trains don't exist. Trains don't exist. If you ever see one coming at you, it's imaginary. You're schizophrenic. And so somebody sees a train coming, they just walk out in front of it, and it's like, it's going 70 miles an hour, and it's rumbling, they're honking, they're trying to slam their brakes on, and you're just going, it's not a train, it's not a train. I mean, this is mind control.
Absolutely, mind control. And in its present form, it's been refined greatly. The major media uses it all the time. That's why so many of these people get hooked, and then they get sucked in, and then they get indoctrinated, and then when we get a hold of them and tell them the truth, they say, gee, that can't be true. I mean, I didn't see that anyplace else. Are you sure? And as you well know, Alex, that's the kind of thing we have to put up with. And this Facebook thing with the young man, and that's probably going to spread all over the world, that kind of apprehension because you said what they figure is the wrong thing. That's going to become more prevalent. It'll be a way of scaring people into not talking about anything.
It's getting insane. What about Dominique Strauss-Kahn? The New York Times, they've released him from even home detention. They say they may drop the charges, that she's reportedly mafia connected, and they admit that Sarkozy had intelligence people there in the building.
Well, you and I talked about this as it happened, and we said that's probably what did happen. And as we find out, it is what happened. The question is, what are they going to do with this person, this lady, who made the false accusations? And is she being interrogated as to why she did what she did? And if she was directed to do so, who directed her? It's a good question.
Well, I've said it, Whitey Bulger, now that he's about to supposedly expose all the feds that ran him, he might fall down a flight of stairs or hit his head. And this lady, she might end up like some of those Clinton people. Remember McDougal dying up in the jail cell in Dallas?
That's right. And of course, the one whose body was found there in Washington, out on the lawn.
Yeah, he had the bullet hole in his head with no blood at the scene. Vince Foster. We'll be right back.
Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Backbeat, the word is on the street that the fire in your heart is out. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really had a doubt. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now.
All right, I want to go to some of your phone calls for Bob Chapman after we get into some of the other important news today, dealing with the economy with Bob, who's a real expert on that front. But I remember a few weeks ago, a bunch of national media and, of course, Red State and all these sites attacked us, saying we were insane conspiracy theorists for even questioning that Rick Perry went to Bilderberg, or that he would end up being the front runner for president, or that he was even running. I mean, to be able to think and to have sources inside the governor's operation, to have other sources around the country, including national media, to know that he gave a pledge he wouldn't run for president in 2012, and that we told you he would break the pledge because it was never a pledge. It's not like he's changing his mind. It was always his intention. This is Al Gore's former chief of staff in his campaign in Texas. This is for president. This is a guy, Karl Rove, got to flip to Republican. This is a guy that's for forced inoculations, on record, the only governor to publicly push it. This is a guy who's for open borders in the past and been given awards by Vicente Fox for Sanctuary City. And you notice the Sanctuary City bill died. He introduces bills to kill them. And Ron Paul agreed that's the tactic. So, but it doesn't matter. People like to be conned, so, hey, I understand. It's fun. Romney leads national poll, but Perry debuts in second place. And this is out of Real Clear Politics. Well, they already had polls showing he was in the second place. Depending on the poll, it's Ron Paul's number 1, number 2, or number 3. And Rick Perry now talks and acts like Ron Paul, but he doesn't actually do what Ron Paul did. What do you make of this, Bob Chapman, that the mainline Republican sites are very upset and even chastise the Drudge Report for leaking to our stories 2 weeks ago that we would dare to say that Rick Perry was going to run for president, even though we are a real media organization who has real sources?
Well, I think what they're trying to do here, and this will be done in perpetuity, and that is to discourage any outside opinion. And that's what yours is. It's outside the box.
Opinion is now conspiracy theory or breaking news. I mean, if I can say this keyboard is gray, that's a conspiracy theory. I'm not allowed to have any view.
Well, my feeling on that is let them talk all they want. We just keep on doing what we're doing. And but I see a lot of harassment today, particularly of people like yourself, and this is part of it, of this vilification, so that people will start to wonder, well, really, is Alex and Bob, are they that way? Are they conspiracy theorists and really off base? And this is the tack that they're following. And you'll get all of these bogus attacks making up stories about what we're talking about just simply isn't true. And it's going to go on. And you in the past, like myself, we just ignore it. We talked about this a dozen years ago.
No, that's why they're losing credibility. Exactly. They're losing credibility because they don't live in the real world, but they get more and more ridiculous, is my point. That's major breaking news, that we've got sources that Perry is going to run for president. We've been saying it for almost 4 years on record. It's in my film Endgame. And then the system is so upset by our credibility that they flip it around and say we don't have credibility. So the debate is about, do we have credibility or not, instead of the facts that we're laying out to people. It's a mind trick.
They are terrified. And a few weeks ago, you made the statement, we are breathing down their collar, and they don't like it. And you're absolutely correct. And the the greater the breathing is or the heat down their collar, the more aggressive they're going to get. And, when you were talking about the attack on this young man in Australia, I was thinking of this word usage, and of course you and I use all kinds of word usage, and that's probably how they're going to come at us. You said something about something, and you can't say that, so we're going to pick you up and put you in jail.
Well, they already do that in Canada. I mean, this is modern book burning. This is like arresting you as a heretic, if you're Copernicus and don't think the Earth is flat, or if you're Galileo and know that the Earth orbits the sun. They just arrest you. I mean, it's right back to what it's always been.
Well, when the Vatican was running things, they excommunicated you. And many of the great minds of history were excommunicated. So it's nothing new. It goes back for centuries. But I think they're getting it down to a fine art and then putting a zinger, a stinger in there, which is, if you say that sort of thing about somebody like that policeman is a homosexual, then off you go, you get tried, and you get put away for 3 or 4 years where you will be indoctrinated, and it's just like the communists had in their camps recently. And
well, no, that's what the communists said. They said, you're saying things we don't like, you're going to a re-education camp. I mean, these are re-education, and people are listening right now going, good, it was mean to say that, re-education camp, re-education camp. I mean, it shows how much trouble we're in.
It's very, very serious, and sometimes you can't even convince your close friends and members of your family that it's as dire as it is. They just don't see it, and everybody, out of everybody, only a fraction will ever see it, because their minds just don't work that way, where they can uncover things like this and see through them. It takes a special kind of approach, and most people don't have that.
All right, I want to go to some calls, Bob, but there's a lot of other news floating around right now. The Russian minister, Russian envoy to NATO says, yeah, they're getting ready to go in September, October. We had Tarpley on live and showed live video of what conservatively looked like 500,000 people running around with AK-47s and grenade launchers in the middle of Tripoli, men, women, children, hopping up and down, saying, we're ready. We want peace, but if the tanks come, we're going to fight. I mean, Saddam was a dictator installed by the West, and, he'd have little staged events with a few thousand of his hand-picked people with guns to show, look, I'm not a dictator. No, this was 500,000 people in one square with automatic rifles and grenade launchers saying, bring it on. And, hey, the bankers are going to bring it on. They don't care if they march our Army and Marine people in there and they get killed.
Well, that's absolutely correct. And they're pulling troops out of Afghanistan right now to send them over to Libya. And I get a lot of questions on that yesterday. And, from the Marine disposition. And these are professional people. In our military, they don't want to go and do these things, but they're under contract and they don't have much choice. They argue, they get court-martialed. Then they go to jail. So what good is that? So they go and put themselves in the line of fire into something that they totally and completely disagree with.
Now, let's look at the economy. More and more, the Financial Times of London on Monday, the dollar will lose its world reserve status, but they say 25 years to introduce the idea to us. The Chinese say the dollar's already dead as a world reserve, but the other currencies are falling. Greece has rolled over to the austerity. Break down the current economic, geopolitical landscape.
Well, one of the factors that we have to talk about when we talk about the dollar, and it's very important. In the last 11 years, every year, 9 major currencies fell on average more than 20% versus gold and silver. So if the dollar goes down against the pound or the euro or any currency, it's important. But what's really important is all of the currencies are going down in varying degrees versus gold and silver. And that's extremely important. People don't look at it that way. They don't understand because no one ever tells them. But versus other currencies, you've just seen the dollar back off into 74.5 approximately. The USDX index, which is 6 major currencies versus the dollar. And that's really not going to get any better, even though England and the countries in Europe and many other countries got similar problems. The government in the United States has seen fit, along with the Federal Reserve, to so overburden the American economy and the dollar with this tremendous debt that there's no way that the dollar can appreciate. It's going to continue to depreciate. And that's the bag that we're into. And unless something is done to stop that, which is more than anything else speculation by Wall Street, it's going to continue. And I think that they want it to continue because they want to be able to pay off their debts with cheaper money. And this is what they're up to.
And we see them, as you said, every time they want a new, quote, bailout, which is really just another robbery. Every time that happens, we see another news article. Oh, ratings agency, U.S. to lose its credit rating. You know, if you don't give the bankers more money. So it's just endless. I mean, they're not going to stop.
Well, a good example of that is what you and I and Max have just seen over in Greece, and everybody knows what's happened there. What I'm terribly afraid of now is this could very well lead to violence and revolution in Greece. And I think there's a distinct possibility of that. We have a lot of subscribers there who are connected, and they tell us that it could very well happen. So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks, but that sort of thing, if it happened in Greece, would spread all over Europe and to the United States.
Your phone's crackling a bit, Bob, but you're...
Yeah, I know. We got the big storms in my area.
Let's go ahead and talk to G2 in Illinois. G2, welcome.
Welcome. Bob, I want to throw you a couple of powder puffs because my female hormones are up. I've been drinking lake water out of plastic bottles. Number one, you mentioned Greece. Those demonstrators, you can go on the Internet. They're agent provocateurs, and that was sham opposition in Greece. Check it out. Second big story.
Well, hold on, G2, because you're making these big statements. You're talking about bisphenol A, admittedly turning all mammal species, males, quote, feminine. Then the mice release a pheromone that they're feminine, and then the females won't mate with them. And people need to understand it's in all the major printer cartridge ink, all the major brands, most of the printer ink at the store. It's in most of the plastic we drink out of. Okay, A. Okay, serious issue. B. They've had millions of people on the streets of Greece. Yes, the police have been caught breaking out windows and setting fires to things, even on mainline Greece television. Are you saying all the protesters were agent provocateurs?
No, but it's on the Internet, and Greek TV's got them because they let away some guys with a tattoo. One of them had a left tattoo on his left No, I understand, but I mean, what's your view of the austerity? What's your view of what happened to Greece? Well, you're talking about Shin Bet against Sinn Féin, and you're talking about the GF2, the Gaza Flotilla 2. They just had sabotage down there. There's some Irish ship. It's called Sawarza. It's Gaelic for freedom. The drive shaft was cut and the rudder was cut off. And then this followed Monday, Tuesday, days after the sabotage the Juliana in Piraeus Harbor, Athens, Greece, where the propeller and the drive shaft were cut up. The Irish ship group leader, Fintan's Lane, supported by Prime Minister Edna Kenny.
Okay. Let me get Bob Chapman to comment on that. Thank you, G2. Haven't heard from you in a while. Let's Bob, your comments on what he was saying.
Well, first of all, the actions happened versus those ships. And who is the likely suspects? The Israelis, because they don't want a flotilla. Although there's to me, has very little to do with Greece other than I think there was one ship there, and a little hazy on what happened with it. I don't know whether it was off Piraeus or where it was, but I don't know that one thing belongs to the other or has anything to do with the other. There's no question. The sabotage with the flotilla that's going to Gaza, and they had to take off minus one or two or three vessels, and that's just simply dirty tricks. And the Israelis are well known for that. As far as Greece is concerned, agent provocateurs, you're always going to have them. And that's just the way governments work today. But there's tremendous amounts of people. You and I both have many videos of what's gone on there over the last almost a month now. And I have people who are subscribers who live there. And they're very successful, some of them. Some of them are middle class. And everybody knows everybody in Greece. It's a small country, and generally speaking. And so I think that 99% of what you're seeing in the streets by protesters is real.
Absolutely.
They're really disturbed, and I don't blame them.
Absolutely. Pamela in Wisconsin, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hi, Alex. How you doing?
Good.
I'm glad we're all awake, and I just want to let the good news that Jesus Christ Yahweh is in Australia. You can find him at YouTube. Brian is Yahweh too.
Pamela, come on. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Do you have any questions or comments for Bob?
Well, it's the seeds of Seth and the Lord love the seeds of Cain have a truth right now. We're trying to save.
I appreciate your call. I'm not going to do it. I think we got some prank calls today. John in New Jersey, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, how you doing, Alex? Listen, man, thanks for everything you do, your guests, your staff there. Thank goodness there's people like you in the world. Listen, I sent a couple emails, and there's a couple things that I want to say. The first one I sent is I was trying to figure out exactly how much government costs us in this country. Now, it
depends on your tax bracket, but most people, one way or the other, pay about 60% in taxes in studies I've seen. Bob Chapman?
That's about right.
And what, in France, it's over 85, correct?
It depends upon where you live within the United States, but California, where I lived for years, is terrible.
Stay there, John. Stay there, John. Stay there, Bob. We'll come back, let you finish your question, and then let Bob finish his answer. But, yeah, it varies, but they've got global gauges. They call the U.S. a tax avoidance area because we only pay 60% in some form of tax. France is the model at over 85 because they greedily... Unfortunately, we are out of time here, ladies and gentlemen. We got a special broadcast coming up on Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. I'll just leave it at that towards the end of the show. The last 30 minutes of the broadcast on Sunday are important to tune into. Bob Chapman's our guest. I want to get to all these people, but we were talking to John in New Jersey, and he was talking about what percentage we pay in taxes. If you really get down to it, businesses, everything passes on the cost to you, but then you have all the fines, the fees, the regulations, the property taxes, the business taxes. And even if you're, quote, blue collar and making, a lot less money than some folks, you're hit the worst because all the expenses of what you buy, people that have more money than you in their businesses are passing the expenses on to you. But again, their problem in all their public documents is a, quote, overheating economy. Things growing fast. They don't like that. This is a command destruction economy. And I want Bob to comment on this, but they constantly talk about this for 100 years, where they're taxing to suck money out of the economy, to slow things down, and then giving waivers to insiders so only they can operate with an unfair trade advantage. And the examples of that are legion, but the big one is 2,000 plus companies that give to Obama get health care waivers, and now no one can compete with them. They can lower prices, and it's whether it's a hamburger or a car, and no one can defeat them. It's total criminal mafia operations. Bob Chapman.
Well, it's the same as the situation with the profits of offshore corporations that are American corporations. you can make money, keep it offshore. 5 years ago, we had legislation. The promise was that these transnational conglomerates would hire people in America if they could bring money back, and they were allowed to bring money back, about $350 billion, and instead of paying 35% taxes, they paid 5.25%. They want the same deal again. This time they want to bring back $2 trillion. What did they do with the money last time? They went in the market, bought their own stocks, ran up the prices, and cashed in on their options.
Does that answer your question, John?
Yeah, well, some good information. I found a wiki page. I think that probably has the best information. It's from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, and they're up over 72% of GDP, excluding the debt. Now, we have a unique opportunity right now, and the only solution that I could think of that I want to tell all your listeners.
I'm going to interrupt you. 72% in taxes, because I know conservatively 60, but yeah, a lot of estimates have France above 90. I wanted to be conservative because folks won't believe it. If I lie in any way, it's that I tend to go with the most conservative numbers, knowing people won't believe it. And so it's not lying. It's just I'll go with and then people accuse me of exaggerating, and generally it's the opposite. But yes, I've seen those numbers. Sir, what type of greedy person are you? You want to keep 28% of your money? I mean, it's not enough that serfs only paid 10% in ancient Europe, and you're paying 70 plus. What type of sicko are you, John?
Well, that's why
it's not funny, man. Are you a racist? Because not wanting government-run health care is racist. I mean,
all of that's just ridiculous.
No, I know it doesn't make sense, but I'm sorry, make your point, and then Bob will finish. I'm sorry. I'm just talking to somebody who's greedy and hateful.
Unique opportunity right now because of this financial crisis, and the only thing that I could think is that we got to band together. We got to stand up against these people. There's not going to be too much of a window of opportunity to ever do this, and say, you know what? The federal government's fired. Let's bring everything down to a local level where at least you could show up at some guy's house and give him a hard time if he gets out of control. And that's it. That's the only thing I could think that would make any
well
sense.
said. Bob Chapman, final comments on that, my friend.
I just want to leave you with one thing. Here are the current European tax rates. UK, 67.5%. France, almost 60. Greece, 65. Spain, 61. Portugal, 62. Sweden, 80. Norway, 79.3. Netherlands, 71. And Denmark,
hold on, we'll go into
83.
overdrive for 5 minutes because I got to finish that. See you back Sunday, folks.
Defending the Republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. It's Alex Jones.
We've got different TV networks on out there during the breaks, and I saw the headline on Fox. Government sues Apollo 14 astronaut. We're going to pull that up and see what that's about. Doing 5 more minutes with Bob. I wish I could go for 10 more hours, but I got a long way to go and a short time to get there, another way to say it. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have miles to go before I sleep. I'd love to go to these calls. We'll see what happens. But and again, Bob, I think you're just going with the income tax rates. Yeah, you're not counting the council, the city, the parish, whatever the jurisdiction is, all the telecommunications fines and fees, the carbon taxes, the travel taxes, the sales taxes, the environmental taxes, the service taxes, the hotel taxes. Because the numbers I've seen is from the OECD, the UN complaining that the United States is only a little over 60% of total taxes, and so the world invests here, kind of like Texas, is better in the rest of the U.S. So Glenn Beck's moving here. Is there nothing he doesn't do that to imitate what we're doing? But so basically, that's why I was saying France, from the numbers I've seen, is approaching 90% in many tax brackets. Go ahead.
Agreed. And the VAT alone will put you up there. And so the taxes are prohibitive. And that's the way they're going to get in America. If you notice the plan that they're trying to put together to extend the short-term debt limit, they want to raise taxes. And the Republicans are saying, generally speaking, no, we want you to cut back on what you're spending. And they're at a standoff. But nobody mentions is that between the date that the extension ended and August the 2nd, the federal government will have borrowed about $275 billion to keep the government going during that period of time which they borrowed from the pension plan without informing anybody, so to speak.
Well, folks, if you want to get a free copy of hard copy or emailed the latest international forecaster, you can give Midas Resources a call, 800-686-2237, 800-686-2237. These arrogant people aren't going to stop, Bob, as you know. It's us or them, and we've got to go through the fear. We've got to face the corruption, as you've done, and we've got to continue to warn people and live to fight another day. And we've got to get people that work for government and the corporate structure to realize that this system's going to destroy them as well, and that it's a mind trick to tell themselves they're on the winning team when they join with the New World Order. Do you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. And, of course, I've been working toward that end for over 50 years. But the real point here, and we talk about it in each broadcast, we are gaining on them. We are strong. We are breathing down their collar. We are making great gains, and that's why we're attacked all the time. And so we're going to keep doing what we're doing, and we need your help out there, supporting Alex, and also spreading the word. I know that you're going to get rejected 99 out of 100 people that you talk to, but do it anyway.
Absolutely, folks, and they're trying to censor the web and InfoWars and others for a reason. We're effective. God bless you, Lord willing. We'll see you next Friday, Bob.
You got it. Bye-bye, everyone.
You bet. This Sunday's going to be a special broadcast. They're suing the astronaut for selling his camera. I guess they gave it to him and let him keep it, but then I guess he wasn't supposed to sell it. Side issue, little factoid, but I thought that was too crazy. Speaking of spreading the word, it also means supporting those that are spreading the word. We try to give you the best deals possible. I beg you to get my films and make copies. As Lindsey Williams says, I beg of thee. But Obama Deception, Terror Storm, Endgame, Police State 4, Fall of the Republic, and Mark Dice's new book, Big Brother, The Orwellian Nightmare Come True, free on top of that order. $29.95 for the 5 films. Get a free book. And we're going to run that special through the weekend. You can also call, the folks will be here a few more hours, 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139 if you want to order over the phone. God bless you all. Retransmission with Key Intel starts now on Agenda 21. Stay with us. See you back Sunday.